Welcome to A Journey to Happy Happy. I'm Autumn, mom, spiritual mentor, angel Reiki master, and also just a human figuring it out just like you. This is the place you come when life feels a little loud, a little chaotic, and you need just a moment to come back to yourself. Because here's the thing, life doesn't have to be so serious. You can hold your emotions, I can hold mine, and when we meet here, we don't have to fix anything. We just get to be. We get to laugh, we get to breathe, and actually enjoy the moments we're in. That's what happy is. Not perfect, not forced, just presence. So wherever you are right now, driving, walking, hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes apiece, you made it. You're here. And this is your reminder that the journey you're on right now is already worth celebrating. Welcome back to your journey. Back to happy. Disclaimer. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to share that this is a deeply personal story about my own medical journey and lived experience. My path is not meant to be medical advice or a recommendation for anyone else. Please always seek appropriate medical care, work closely with your healthcare team, and make the decisions that feel right for you. At the same time, I encourage you to honor your own intuition and be your biggest advocate, whatever that looks like for your unique journey. This episode is simply my story of grief, healing, faith, and hope. My intention is to share what I've learned in the hope that it reminds you that even through life's hardest moments, healing and transformation are possible. Before we get into today's episode, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever looked back at one of your hardest seasons of your life and realized it wasn't actually the thing that broke you? Life broke my heart over and over and over again, but I refused to let it make me believe I was broken. It's not the thing that breaks you. It's the thing that actually introduces you to the version of yourself that you were always becoming. Because I think that's what death and rebirth really is. We hear the word rebirth all the time in the spiritual world. It sounds beautiful, almost poetic, like butterflies, like the phoenix rising from the ashes, but nobody really talks about the ashes. Nobody talks about the nights you cry yourself to sleep, the prayers you feel unanswered, the anger, the fear. Oh man, the anger, the shame, the moments where your entire identity falls apart and you're left asking, who am I now? Today's episode isn't just about grief. It's about what grief gives us when we're willing to stay with it, when we're willing to walk hand in hand with our grief. Because I believe our emotions aren't something we're supposed to fix. They're something we're meant to feel, there's something we're meant to observe, and there's something we're supposed to understand. And once we understand them, everything changes. Because the moment you realize I have a choice in how I want to respond, you stop giving your pain the pen. You stop letting your wounds write your story. You stop living from the identity of what happened to you, and you begin living from the identity of who you're becoming. That's where freedom lives. That's where love lives. And that's exactly what happened to me. Today, I'm going to tell you the most personal stories I've ever shared publicly. It's the story of 3 ectopic pregnancies, of devastating loss, of doctors telling me my body couldn't do what my heart longed for, and the little miracles that kept showing up along the way. The little breadcrumbs that kept giving me so much hope. This story isn't meant to tell you what to do medically, but please always work with your healthcare team and make the decisions that are right for you. This is simply my story, a story of faith, of heartbreak, of healing, and of learning that sometimes life isn't happening to us. Life isn't happening to us. It's inviting us to become someone we've never been before. So, let's take this journey together. The first chapter of the story began on December 29th of 2021. It's funny what your brain chooses to remember when your heart is literally breaking. I don't remember what I wore. I don't remember what I ate. I do remember being at the zoo lights, walking around with my family. My brother and sister-in-law and nieces and nephew just got back from Alaska. And I remember standing in front of the polar bears and a random lady next to me. I always say random, but really this is just how spirit works through us. Was asking about the polar bear's name. What is that polar bear's name? Is there a name, like looking for a plaque with the polar bear's name on it? And I stood up like full confidence and looked at this bypasser and said, "Oh, that polar bear right there, that polar bear's name is Agnes." I remember thinking that life felt so normal until it didn't. That night changed everything. I experienced my first ectopic pregnancy. As heartbreaking as that season was, something happened that I didn't fully understand at the time. Little moments kept showing up. People, little conversations, little feelings. Looking back now, I call them breadcrumbs. That's exactly what they were. At the time, they felt like tiny little moments that somehow gave me enough hope to keep taking the next step. One of the breadcrumbs was when I arrived at the hospital and I was brought back to the room, called in for an ultrasound at 3 a.m. The ultrasound tech's name was Agnes. Out of all of the names in the world, I immediately knew that whatever was going on, Spirit had my back. Another breadcrumb was when I was put into a room in the ER floor. A nurse came in, and my nurse's name was Autumn. My name is Autumn. Autumn is not a very common name. And maybe this sounds insignificant, but there was so much space that was created just by these two little situations that made me feel so incredibly held. Years later, I still remember her kindness. I can still remember how safe she made me feel. Sometimes healing doesn't begin because someone fixes your pain. Sometimes it begins because someone reminds you you're not alone. 7 months later, I found myself back in another hospital. 7 months. And yet the signs were there. I knew something wasn't right. I couldn't get in to see my OBGYN, and eventually I ended up in the emergency room. I waited for nearly 10 hours in the waiting room. 10 hours. Alone, praying, keeping myself in an energetic bubble of protection, wondering, hoping, trying not to let fear completely take over. But that's when another breadcrumb appeared. This time it wasn't the name that with me. It was her energy. I don't remember my ultrasound's tech's name, but I remember the way she looked at me. I remember the compassion she carried. Sometimes that's all we need in these moments. Not answers, just someone who can hold hope with us when we can't hold it ourselves. This angel baby of mine was on the outside of my uterus, something that is incredibly rare. I needed surgery and it created a weak spot in my uterus, but the doctor gave me the okay to keep trying, so I did. And then came the third pregnancy. By now, I was absolutely terrified. Every appointment felt like I was holding my breath. Every ultrasound felt like waiting for my world to either stay together or completely fall apart. At first, they couldn't see anything. It's too early. Oh, I hated that word. I hated that phrase. So we waited week after week until finally they discovered something no one wanted to see. The pregnancy had implanted in the weak area of my uterus where I'd previously had surgery for my second ectopic. In my body, my incredible, intelligent body had actually begun absorbing the pregnancy into my uterus to keep the baby safe. My body began to absorb the baby into my uterus to keep the baby safe. Even now, I can hold two truths at once. It was one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life, and it was also left me in awe of how brilliantly our bodies try to protect us. Grief and gratitude can exist together. That's something this journey taught me. After surgery, I woke up feeling like I had a C-section, but there was no baby, just silence. Then my doctor walked into the room. I'll never forget his face. I remember staring at him. I don't even think I blinked. Everything around me disappeared. Then he said the words I never thought I'd hear. My uterus had hemorrhaged during my last surgery. It had split. He had repaired it the best he could, but in his own medical opinion, I would likely never carry another baby. He recommended IVF if I ever wanted to grow my family. In that moment, I had two voices inside of me. One was fear, absolute fear, devastation. The other was something much quieter, but somehow so much stronger. It simply said, "This is not your story." I can't explain it. I didn't hear it with my ears. I felt it with every cell of my entire body. And it wasn't denial. It wasn't certainty about the future. It was simply a deep knowing that I wasn't ready to give up hope. So I gave my body what it deserved: rest, time, space, love. I poured everything I knew about healing into myself. Every morning I would wake up and I would sit in meditation, sending angel Reiki energy to my uterus. I pictured it as a rainbow energy flowing from the universe into my uterus. Not because I believed I could control every outcome, but because I believed my body deserved to be loved through the process. Looking back now, those breadcrumbs weren't random. The polar bear's name was not Agnes, but Spirit was already holding me before I met the actual Agnes, my ultrasound tech. The nurse named Autumn, the compassionate ultrasound tech, the quiet knowing that rose inside of me, none of those moments erased my grief, but every one of them whispered the same thing: take one more step. And sometimes one more step is all you need. On May 20th, 2024, I found out I was pregnant again. To be completely honest, it wasn't the excitement I had always imagined. It was fear. It was immense fear. I still carried so much grief. I still felt like I had healing to do. I questioned everything. I had no idea how far along I was or what to expect. So I immediately drove myself to the emergency room. I was terrified. And then another breadcrumb. The same nurse, Autumn, from my first ectopic pregnancy, appeared before me in my room. Out of all of the people who could have walked into the room, it was Autumn. I remember smiling through the fear, thinking, "Okay, God, I see you." She gently told me that I was pregnant. And for the first time in a long time, I heard the words my heart had been longing for. I completely felt the completion of that chapter when she said the baby is exactly where it's supposed to be. I cried. Oh my goodness, I could cry right now. Not because the fear disappeared, but because hope finally had a place to land. I knew my doctor would have concerns, and rightfully so. I was considered extremely high risk. Every appointment carried uncertainty. Every ultrasound felt like holding my breath. But the breadcrumbs just kept coming. My due date was February 14th, Valentine's Day, the day the world celebrates love. And one of my ultrasound techs caring for me was the same technician who had cared for me during my second ectopic pregnancy, closing out another lesson, another familiar face, another reminder that I wasn't walking this journey alone. Week after week, appointment after appointment, we kept moving forward. There were worries about my uterus, worries about his growth, worries about whether my body could do what everyone feared it couldn't. Then at 36 weeks, I finally heard the cry I had dreamed for years. On January 23rd, 2025, 1, 2, 3, if you think about synchronicities, my beautiful baby boy entered this world. 8 pounds, 5 ounces at just 36 weeks. Perfect, healthy, A miracle I'll never stop being grateful for. Looking back now, I realize the greatest miracle wasn't just that I had my son. The miracle was who I became while waiting for him. Those three losses changed me forever. They expanded my capacity to love. They softened my heart instead of hardening it. They taught me how to hold grief and hope in the same hand. They taught me that healing isn't about pretending life doesn't hurt. It's about believing that love can still meet you there. People often ask me why I say the journey is the joy. It's not because every chapter of my life has been joyful. Very, very far from it. But it's because every chapter, even the ones that shattered me, left behind breadcrumbs. A kind nurse, a compassionate technician, all of the quiet whispers from God, a moment of hope when I needed it most. These moments reminded me to take one more step, and eventually one more step became an entirely different life. Every life we are praying on is one parallel step past fear. If you're listening today and you're walking through your own season of loss, disappointment, heartbreak, or uncertainty, I want you to know this. Don't stop looking for the breadcrumbs. Sometimes they're tiny, sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they don't make sense until years later, but they matter. They remind us that hope isn't always loud. Sometimes hope is simply the courage to take that one more step. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this episode, it's this. Your hardest chapter does not get the final word. Keep loving, keep believing, keep healing, and keep taking the next step. My miracle was becoming someone who trusted herself, someone who could hold grief and hope at the same time, someone who realized love isn't something we earn after life gets easier. Love is what carries us through the hardest parts. Every death expanded my heart. Every rebirth made me softer instead of harder. And one day you'll look back and realize that what felt like the end of your story was actually the beginning of the life that was waiting for you all along. Until next time, remember, the journey is the joy. Thank you for taking this journey with me today. Wherever you're listening from, whatever season of life you're in, whatever you're carrying, I hope you remember you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to build something, and you don't have to wait for someday, because the journey really is the joy. Until next time, happy, happy.